Welcome into Words with Wallace. I'm your host, Nick Wallace, coming at you. It is Monday, April 29th. What is up, everybody? We are more than a week into the NBA playoffs, and it's been a busy week, man. A lot of games, not a lot of time spent outside, just a lot of couch watching NBA hoops. What is better than that? A lot of series going on, and already one series is over. And that series is the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Phoenix Suns. And as you guys can tell by the title of the episode, in just a little bit, we are going to be joined by my good friend Garrett Olson to talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves breaking a 20-year playoff series victory drought. So stay tuned for Garrett a little bit. That is going to be the majority of this podcast. But before we bring on Garrett, I did just want to fly around the league, just talk about every series, kind of give my thoughts where we're at, do some little recaps, and just kind of what I've learned from each series so far and watching a lot of hoops over the past week or so. Let's start off with Celtics Heat, man. Again, recording this on Monday the 29th, the Celtics did get a dub against the Heat about an hour ago at this point in time. The series is now 3-1 in favor of the Boston Celtics. Game one was great, basically went as scheduled. Game two, combination of great shooting with Miami and a really horrible game from Kristaps Porzingis, and that kind of led us to being tied 1-1 at a time. As a Celtics fan, I obviously expected them to take care of business against a really banged up Miami team. Again, no Jimmy Butler, no Terry Rozier. Expected the Celtics to be able to sweep and certainly take care of business on the home floor. But if they were going to drop a game to a team, I'd rather it be in a way like that, where Miami, again, shot nearly 53% from three that game. Like, they really couldn't miss. And sure, you can point to some of the defensive effort as far as what the Boston Celtics were doing, but in general, you kind of live with guys like Caleb Barton and Jaime Jaquez taking a bunch of threes, forcing them to shoot from beyond the arc to have a chance to stay in games. And the Heat were just kind of able to make shots that game. Again, what really killed us was Kristaps Porzingis. I think he had like 6 points that game. Got cooked on the glass, got cooked by Bam Adebayo. So look, it was a bad game. I'm not excusing the Celtics for losing. They have so much more talent than Miami. They should have been able to win 4 straight. But I do understand it. I could see the path. I didn't expect Miami to be able to, replicate that in the following games. And so far they haven't, right? I mean, we got right back on schedule for game 3. Again, game 4 was about an hour ago. But we do have a really big headline with the Boston Celtics. It was a Derek White masterclass. He did drop 38 and was magnificent on both ends of the court tonight. But unfortunately, the story of the game for the Celtics was Kristaps Porzingis suffering an injury. Now, again, the game just happened, so I don't have cut and dry injury update on when we expect him to be back, but it was confirmed it was a calf injury. Kristaps was questionable and has been struggling with a calf injury really all year long. So he reaches down, non-contact that looked like maybe he got stepped on, wasn't entirely sure, but he was clearly coming up gingerly at some point during the third quarter. He stays in the game, couple plays later, gets the ball, and immediately gives it up right away, because basically he went to make a move and came up lame. I mean, it was non-contact, looked like he got shot. I mean, reached right down for that calf immediately, and he was out, right? He put his head in his jersey. The body language was terrible, especially for a dude that size. I mean, naturally your mind goes to the worst place, which is an Achilles injury, and that's obviously really the worst injury you can get as an NBA fan, especially for a dude that size. It was confirmed by Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN that it is not an Achilles injury. It is not an Achilles tear anyways. It sounds like it is mainly a calf issue. But again, where does that lead us? It's really hard for a guy of that size to react the way he did to a calf injury and have him back any sooner than like 3 weeks, right? I mean, we see what Giannis is going through. He still hasn't returned to that series against Indiana, which we're going to talk about shortly. Frankly, I would expect to be without Kristaps for the remainder of the Miami series, almost certainly the entirety of round 2. Maybe by the Eastern Conference Finals, we can see Kristaps for the last few games to get a rhythm, depending on how things are going in that series. Maybe they bring him back earlier. Hopefully they can win a couple games without him and are able to keep him out until a potential NBA Finals bout. But it's scary, right? It just sucks for a guy that's been pretty healthy, especially for his standards all year long, to get hurt at the worst time of the year. But that's the playoffs. So that's the injury update on Kristaps. Certainly hoping to get him back in a couple of weeks. But as a Celtics fan, I wouldn't expect it. So, where does that leave this Celtics team? I'll focus on my Celtics for a little too long to start this pod. I mean, I still expect them to be able to certainly take care of business against Miami. Whether it is Cleveland, whether it is Orlando that comes out of that matchup, I expect the Celtics to be able to win without Kristaps Porzingis in the entirety of that series. The nice thing about the Kristaps injury, if I had to pick a silver lining, is that I do think it is the position that we are the most prepared to lose somebody in some ways. Like, I know Kristaps is certainly invaluable with what he's able to provide, being a 7'3" walking mismatch that can shoot the ball and protect the rim. But again, obviously Al Horford is more than capable of stepping into that starting spot. It's a spot he's had for many years at this point in time. And then, you look at the bench, we were able to pick up a guy named Xavier Tillman at the trade deadline who's able to provide, a real boost in the defensive end of the court. And Luke Cornett has been really solid for the Celtics all year long. So expect to see both of those guys in the rotation moving forward. One might get more minutes than the other depending on the matchup, but at least we do have some depth as big. Whereas at guard, if we're forced to start a guy like Peyton Pritchard, I think that really changes the identity of the team, maybe even more than losing Kristaps. So that's the silver lining. It's not shocking to see somebody with Kristaps' injury history goes down, but you just would have to hope that he's able to at least come back for the NBA Finals at this point in time. So not so great news out of the Celtics, but they're in a good spot, up 3-1 against Miami. Expect them to close it out in Game 5. Moving on to the next series in the Eastern Conference, we have Knicks 76ers, currently 3-1 advantage for the New York Knicks at this point in time. I mean, what a rock fight of a series. I mean, my overarching thoughts is just being really impressed with Joel Embiid, man. Like, I know he takes a lot of smack, and some of it is deserved, but for him to come out and compete, average 35 points a game in this series, in the physical condition he's in, I mean, if you guys haven't watched any of that series, Embiid looks like a corpse out there. He's playing massive minutes. The plus minus is insane in favor of Embiid. Like when he's off the court, I think the Sixers are like a minus 30 or minus 40 throughout the 4 games so far. So they really cannot afford to take Joel Embiid out of the game for more than a few minutes at a time. And I think he played in basically the entire second half in their game yesterday against the Knicks because Nick Nurse knew that they just can't afford to take him out. And then, you combine that with the supporting cast of the Sixers being way worse than the Knicks. Like Kyle Lowry and Kelly Oubre have been the 3rd and 4th best players for the Sixers at this point in time. Meanwhile, guys like Tobias Harris is just terrible at this point in time. And is Buddy Hield like dead or something? Like he has only played in a few games in this series. And when he has, he's been totally useless out there for the Sixers. So they're really just undermanned at this point in time. And I would expect the Knicks to close out the series, take care of business. Brunson's been awesome the last 2 games. So overall, I'm not shocked with anything from the Knicks 76ers series besides how well Joel Embiid is holding up. I mean, the only game the Sixers were able to win was a 50-point game for Joel Embiid that I'm afraid not many people watched because it was in the same night as the NFL draft. But either way, that series is mostly going chalk. Bucks Pacers, right now it's a 3-1 advantage for the Pacers, and it's been pretty ugly for the Bucks. I mean, they came out and they punched the Pacers in the mouth. They were able to win big in Game 1. It looked like Indy was not prepared at all for the playoffs, but since then, Indy's been able to win 3 straight. But sadly, the main story for the Bucks at this point in time is that Damian Lillard is dealing with an Achilles injury as well. He suffered that in Game 3. He missed Game 4. Apparently, there's a chance that both him and Giannis are questionable to play tomorrow for Game 5. I don't know if I buy that. I mean, I just don't know if it's worth it to bring those guys back. Obviously, it's the playoffs, and obviously, if they're able to turn this series around, that's a really great situation for the Bucks because you have to think that they'll have a really good chance against the Knicks next round. But at the same time, these are 2 franchise cornerstones that aren't getting any younger, both on the wrong side of 30. I don't know if you bring those guys back for not even a guarantee that you're able to beat the Pacers with both those guys healthy. I mean, besides that, Siakam's been awesome. Halliburton's been, pretty much contained for the Pacers at this point in time. He's been struggling being guarded by Pat Bev for most of that series, but they have no answer for Siakam without Giannis there. And Chris Middleton had one of the best games that nobody's ever going to remember in Game 3. I mean, he had 42 points. He had 2 insane game-tying threes. Thought they were playing the Celtics again for a second there because I know Chris does kind of shit on the Celtics, but in general, it's just not looking good for the Bucks. Even after a hot start to the series, it looks like they're going to fall short to the Pacers. We'll see how that one ends up playing out. Next series in the East, and the final one we're going to talk about here, of course, is the Magic and the Cavs. What a weird series, dude. I mean, that's at 2-2 right now. All games have been a blowout in favor of the home team. So, frankly, I don't know what to make of it. I mean, at least Orlando has a momentum right now because they've won the last two home games, of course. And have they been able to figure out Donovan Mitchell the past couple games? Absolutely. But is that going to continue? I don't really know. You got to love what you saw from Franz Wagner last game. I mean, he finally broke the seal on offense and was fantastic with 30-something points and actually shot the ball decent from 3 as well last game. So I really don't know what to make of it. I can't pretend to. I mean, there's a lot of flaws you can look at with both teams, but in general, I'm going to stick with my pick and assume that the Magic are able to keep the momentum and maybe, close it out in 6 or 7, but we'll see how that one plays out as well. Kicking it over to the Western Conference, Thunder Pelicans. That's actually going on as I'm recording this. I know the Thunder are up 3-0. Really not much to make besides the fact that Brandon Ingram cannot get a second of separation on Lou Dort, and the Thunder have looked really good, been able to execute. And again, for a young team that really doesn't have any playoff success to point to, the fact that they're able to get kind of a soft matchup in round 1, as soft of a matchup as you're going to get facing a Pelicans team without Zion, that bodes well for the Thunder. So, they should be sitting pretty well tonight. I expect them to take care of business again as I'm recording this and complete the sweep of the Pelicans and maybe get some extra rest as the Dallas Clippers series is finishing up. Nuggets Lakers also going on as I'm recording this right now. Nuggets have done the same exact thing they did to the Lakers last year. The Lakers took advantage and got a double-digit lead in the first 3 games and then proceeded to blow a double-digit lead in the first 3 games. Frankly, it's been probably my favorite series to watch, just the inevitability of the Denver Nuggets at this point in time. They are terrifying. The Lakers were able to rally and really go all in to win game 4 in front of their home court. Now they're back in Denver tonight, so I am expecting and operating as if the Nuggets are going to close out the Lakers tonight. Even if the Lakers are able to win tonight, I think they're delaying the inevitable, and I think the Nuggets are going to prevail in the series. So didn't really learn anything else besides the fact that I am really impressed with the Lakers. I think they've been awesome so far. I think you could even make the argument that they're the second best team in the Western Conference this year. I know that sounds crazy, but they're really talented. And so for them to fall short to Denver, it's just the reality of drawing a tough matchup in the first round, and that's why the regular season does matter when it comes down to seeding, so you can avoid teams like Denver in round 1. Final series we're going to be talking about, Clippers-Mavericks. This one's all netted up at 2-2. The Clippers are 2-0 without Kawhi, and they are 0-2 with Kawhi. Kawhi returned after Game 1, came back for Game 2, and I give him all the credit in the world that he was able to play through the injuries and compete a little bit there, but he did not look like the same guy. There were flashes, even moments on both ends of the court where he was able to operate in the mid-range, get some clutch steals and some big stops for the Clippers, but he's just going out there at like 70%, and it just doesn't look good, and the knee is swelling up again, so they held him out of the last game in which they were able to win yesterday, despite almost blowing a 31-point lead to the Mavericks. So I do expect Dallas to stick with my pick for them to close this thing out in 6 games, maybe 7 games, but it's going to be a dogfight because the confidence that James Harden and Paul George are really forced to play with in the absence of Kawhi Leonard makes the Clippers a really dangerous team. I mean, that was an incredible watch for the game yesterday specifically, to watch the Mavericks come back from being down 31, make it a really competitive game. The shot making on both sides of that game was insane. The stuff that Paul George was doing mainly in the first half. It was a really, really special James Harden game to close out, and he was the driving force as to why they were able to seal that game over the Mavs. And Kyrie on the other end. I mean, I think he was actually the best player for Dallas in the series. Maybe not in the series so far, but at least yesterday he was, because Luka's operating at less than 100%. So it's a wild series. I do expect the Clippers to fall short without Kawhi Leonard being less than 100%, but they are showing a lot of fight without him. That was my quick overview of everything going on. Obviously, all these series are basically going to be over by the time I get back on the mic for my next episode next week, so expect further updates on what's happening in the playoffs then. But in the meantime, let's bring in my guy Garrett Olson to talk some Timberwolves. Now we are looping in my guy, familiar face, lifelong Timberwolves fan, Garrett Olson. One day after the Timberwolves break their 20-year playoff drought, I only had one guy I could call, and it was my guy Garrett. Garrett, how are we doing today, man?
Hey, doing well. Sorry I'm a little late. I just got done sweeping all the dust out of my apartment from the desert. You know how it goes. You got to get that broom out.
A sweep, dude. I thought the Suns were at least going to steal a game, and we'll talk more about my terrible takes like that in a second, man. But you must be like just floating, like levitating above the ground today, man. What was it like seeing your team break the drought and do it in such like convincing fashion last night?
Dude, honestly, it still doesn't really feel real. And it's like so sad that I have to say that, considering like, it's just a series win, right? Everyone should be used to that, but nah, dude, it's been like what, 20 years since our last series win. I think actually I saw a stat today. It was the first sweep ever in Minnesota sports history, dating back to the Minneapolis Lakers and the North Stars. So like ever. First sweep ever, dude. So this is uncharted territories. We have no idea what to feel.
That's preposterous. I knew the Timberwolves just because obviously we're going to talk about their checkered playoff history at best. Like I knew that they hadn't pulled one off, but any sport is wild. Like no
Ever.
baseball, no hockey. That's tough, bro.
Nothing, dude.
That's brutal. Well, I got to at least fess up a little bit because honestly, so far my playoff takes have been pretty good. I mean, last time I recorded this was like I gave out all my picks, everything like that. And I took a fat L on this series. Like, I took Phoenix. I feel terrible about it. But I wasn't alone. I feel like national media-wise, there were a ton of people that picked the Suns. And so, First of all, let me give you the platform to say, what do you have to say to people like myself that were dumb enough to not believe in this Timberwolves team?
Dude, keep doubting us. I feel like we fly better under the radar. Honestly, like, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. Like, I'm going to ride. I know, like, the people that are watching every game are going to ride. But, like, we don't get enough nationally televised games. So, like, for the fair weather Timberwolves fans that don't get to watch us as often, like, stay where you are. We're good on our side. Like, we're gonna keep playing flawless defense. We're gonna keep playing with the guys that we got, well-rounded roster, and just keep running it up. Hopefully.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I feel like, especially with the style that the Wolves played, that, we're going to talk more about in a second, like the defense and just nothing coming easy for a Phoenix team that was loaded on offense. You think at the very least, Phoenix's struggles could come on the defensive end of the court, which in some ways they did, but they just, really every single basket was difficult. They were taking way less threes than they did in the regular season. But, just in general, why do you think so many people like myself doubted this Timberwolves team? Like, what do you think is it that has people thinking, they're going to reach for a team like the aging Suns and ignore the regular season? What is it about this Timberwolves team that making so many people doubt them?
Well, I mean, obviously you can look at the history, right? Like we're the worst franchise in sports history, like historically from a win percentage standpoint. I know Tim Duncan has more career wins than we have as a franchise. Like it's like crazy statistics like that. So just naturally, just all the losing that we've dealt with, I feel like is going to steer people towards doubting us. You look at, Rudy Gobert and his history in Utah, right? Like gets played off the floor a lot, can never really get the job done. So you're obviously going to lean towards that probably happening again. You got Karl Anthony Towns, who's just notoriously hated by anybody in the national media, like people that don't really watch the games that often. So, I mean, I think just like the history, and then you factor in kind of like the way that people look at our guys on the roster. You put those together, it's not really going to lead to a whole lot of faith, and I understand that. So it's good. I mean, it feels good to kind of stand on that business on our end and just feel like we're gonna win, and then see it come to fruition and kind of be able to tell people like, hey, like I tried telling you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man. And it's hard. Like, I'm definitely one that always leans toward the old guard, especially, when it is a toss-up. Like, the playoffs are a different breed. And I'm sure, I know you watch a lot of hoop besides just your Wolves this series. But you can tell with the physicality. You can tell with the scoring being down. You can tell with the officiating. Like, everything about it is different. So I think it was pretty huge. And we're going to talk more about, just the fact that this team was able to get some reps last year against a Denver team. But don't want to step on what we're going to be getting into later. So I want to pivot to Anthony Edwards, man, because he's obviously the star of the show, bro. Like, he's so fun to watch. We talked about him, when I had you on a couple months ago at this point in time, but took his game to another level in the playoffs. In the 4 games against Phoenix, averaged 31, 8 boards, 6 assists, 51% shooting from the field, and 44% from 3, which is crazy. Yeah. We'll see if he can sustain that. But this dude dominated the series. He outplayed Book. He outplayed KD. What did you learn about Ant this series?
Well, one, I learned that he's a top 10 player in the league. And I firmly believe that. I was actually having this conversation with some friends watching Game 3, and we kind of all came to an agreement that he's the top 10 player in the league. And honestly, I think he's probably the best 2 guard in the league at this point. What's crazy is I didn't really learn a whole lot about him rising to the occasion. Before this series, I was already averaging 28 a game in the playoffs, and those were all at 21 years old, right? So this series 22, and elevated it even more to now, what? He averaged 31 a game, like you said, 31.6. So it's just like, dude, this guy, I think as Wolves fans, like we knew that he had the capability to do this, probably not this early, at 22, but man, he just keeps coming and coming and coming. And it's just a crazy feeling knowing that we have this dude on our roster and locked in, and he's just locked in on Minnesota and being here. And we've got him, his extension's kicking in next year, so got him locked up as well as all the other guys. So it's super exciting.
Yeah, and especially like just focusing on the game last night for a second, because I think he finished with 40 on the nose or something like that.
Yeah, 40. Yeah.
Like the exclamation point, his best game of this series, like just X'd him out in the fourth quarter. Like gets hot from 3, which is always a huge boost. Like not something he normally depends on, but like
7 threes.
The shot making was so pure too. It's like you could see him get into a rhythm and create space, and obviously the confidence with him is already there. And then the dunk to go to the basket and just yam. KD made the business decision where he stepped out of the play. He's like, I got to deal with this dude in a couple months. But
Loki and one too. He didn't get the foul call. I got smacked in the dome. Like, what are we doing here?
I know we saw that replay like 100 times. I mean, king of highlight plays. Like he's so intoxicating to watch, and so. There's so much basketball stuff we could talk about, but I do want to mention like his personality because it was so on display during the series. Like, what's going through your head as a fan and somebody that obviously really respects Kevin Durant as well when you see Ant in game 1 of the series, so much time left, barking at KD, like the cameras pick it up, social media picks it up. What are you thinking as a fan when you see that?
Well, dude, like I'm a huge hoop head, right? So like I respect KD's game so much, but like seeing Ant go at KD, I'm watching the game with my boys out here in LA, and we're just like yeah, like yeah, yeah, like it's just so it is intoxicating, it's almost like a proud father moment. Like you're watching your boy like go out and like cook kids on the court. That's like how we feel about Ant. We're just kind of like sitting there like he does something and we'll like kind of side eye, just like it's the coolest shit, bro. I swear to God, it's the coolest feeling in the world, and he backs it up. That's the most beautiful thing too. Like he will talk it, but dude, he's gonna come right at you and back it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought it was really fascinating, especially after, he has public displays like that during the series. Like, he's obviously not shy. Like, I think he's like basically air fucking the crowd at one point in game 3, which was hilarious. Like, in Phoenix, dude. Like,
Doesn't get a fine for that. That's crazy. Like how is a fine? I thought he would for sure get a fine for that already, but it hasn't come through yet.
I thought the same. It was just so funny. Like, it was almost like wholesome. Like how much he was like laughing and enjoying it. Maybe the league's like, all
Yeah,
right, we're gonna let it slide. But like after all that, like I know that he's very genuine in what he says, but you can tell, and I don't know if you've noticed this as well with like the post game interview stuff. Like
oh
he's really mature though. Like he obviously says what he's thinking and he's not gonna hold back. But like
yeah,
immediately last night in the TNT broadcast, he puts on the headset, like they're giving him all sorts of praise that he deserves.
yeah,
Immediately deflects to his teammates. Immediately deflects to his coach of the year who got hurt. We'll
yeah,
talk about that in a sec. Immediately
yeah,
deflects
dude.
to Karl Anthony Towns as
Yeah,
well, and a ton of praise to him. Why do you think Ant is so smart in doing that, and why do you think he's so quickly to pass that praise to his teammates and Cat
dude,
specifically?
he's literally been doing that his entire career. And it's always his guys. Like there was one interview where Ant was like, Nikhil Alexander Walker has gorilla nuts, and he's talking about how like anytime or he's like Naz Reid is the reason we won this game, even if he has like 35, right? He is so mature in that aspect, and I mean maybe it's his PR team, maybe his PR team has just trained him super well on that, but I don't think that that's really the case. I think it's just genuinely who he is as a person. Like he's not a me first guy. He's a team guy. He knows it's a team game. I think what he understands is like if I can hype up my teammates and they believe in me because I do that, then they're gonna trust me when the moment comes. So I think it's just like a perfect blend, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he, again, like understands the situation from Cat's shoes as well. Because, like,
Yeah,
as you know, Cat, you're a Cat guy. Like, Cat was,
yeah,
had a ton of expectations. Number one overall pick, like,
yep,
fantastic start to the career. And so he has to go through a real adjustment when they draft an alpha, a guy way younger than him
for
that
sure.
immediately steps in. And Cat's taken a ton of beatings in the media recently. Like, you think part of it is just, Ant understanding, like, the respect that comes along with that, too? Like, Cat, like I think he did a great job of kind of disarming that relationship with Cat. Is that something that you've seen as well? Like trying to
Yeah,
lift him up, knowing that he's his greatest asset as a
I
teammate.
think I think that probably plays into it, but I also feel like Ant just is like he knows what he's talking about. I mean, Cat to this day is I believe like a top 10 most efficient NBA scorer like of all time in terms of just efficiency, right? Like he's a career 24 and 10 guy, 24 and 11, three-time all or two-time All NBA, four-time All Star. I think that is what it is. So it's just like Ant knows that dude is like his number one, right? His guy that he's going to be side by side with. So yeah, I think obviously Ant now kind of realizing like okay, this is my team. But yeah, hyping Cat up, making sure Cat still feels the love. Even though I mean I don't think Cat really needs to feel that. Cat's pretty notoriously known for making the right play, getting guys involved, like if they double him and things like that. I think yeah, they work really well together, and people always think that, especially people that don't watch watch many Wolves games, they think that Cat needs to get out of there. They're like, no, Cat needs to go. It's Ant's team, but it's like not at all. Like they are best friends. Like they really work so well together and complement each other's games really well. So I think like us getting some national games now, obviously in the playoffs and having more eyes on us, I think people are starting to really see that dynamic, and hopefully the narrative starts to change.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to help. Not only with some of the stars in his building like Cat that we're talking about, but Ant was involved with USA basketball the last couple of years, and it's been
Yeah,
announced that he's going to be a part of Team USA this summer. Like, what do you think that's going to do for Ant's development at his age and with his personality heading
yeah,
into Team USA
yeah,
this summer after he just dismantled two of the
yeah.
prominent players on the team? Like, what do you think that dynamic's going to be like for Ant?
Yeah, dude, I didn't even really think about it. I mean, 22 years old, joining a like a squad of like just straight vets and Hall of Famers. Like, I think it's going to do a ton for him. I mean, he obviously did the USA stuff last summer, but it was with guys, and no shade here, but like the likes of Bobby Portis, Jaren Jackson, right? Like, it's not like these guys that are like Hall of Fame caliber players like KD, Steph, Bron. So it's gonna do a ton, man. Like he's been competing against these guys like, his whole career. Now for him to go get to like play alongside them and honestly maybe start at this point. He might start on that team.
I think that
Um,
was a lot. Not to cut you off here, but I feel like there was some discourse that at least I saw publicly for like that last, the two guard spot being up for
yeah,
grabs before this series, and it was probably
yeah,
going to come down to Book and Ant. I feel
yeah,
like he
dude.
snatched Book's chain, right? It's got to go to Ant
Yeah,
now.
it's got to go to Ant now, dude. Yeah. I mean, Book put up like the most empty 49 points I've ever seen last night. Like,
Did he finish
but
with
Ant,
49?
dude,
I know
yeah,
he
he
had.
had 49 points, bro. And it was like, because he shot what, like 20,000 free throws because he was getting every. Dude, I swear Scott Foster was told by Silver to extend the series last night. Like,
It was rough
it
early
was,
on for sure.
it was gross. But yeah, I mean, I think USA ball, to get back to your question, is going to do a lot for Ant's development. Not just from like a basketball perspective, but from a mental perspective. Like, he's going to be able to pick the brains of these guys and hopefully just continue to add more to his arsenal of being ready to play. Like it's going to be a different brand of basketball, so he's going to have to like adjust to that. He'll be overseas. He's not going to be playing in front of Wolves fans or not in front of all USA fans. So I think he's gonna. I mean, if anything, like if he's shown us anything, it's that he can adapt and rise to the occasion. So I think it's gonna be really fun to watch him play with those guys and represent Team USA.
For sure, for sure. And even like I was so interested after the game, like what we were talking about, like, the on-court stuff with him and KD, like what that was going to be like, at the end of the series. And it was nothing but love, man. Like you saw a
Straight love.
big embrace from KD and Ant, and then KD gave like I don't know if you saw this glowing
I did.
talk
Yeah.
about Ant afterward. Like that's got to
Yeah.
be like the biggest stamp of endorsement for you guys. And I know you were going to love that guy no matter what, but to
Yeah.
hear like literally one of the greatest of all time and somebody we both really respect, like talk about your dude like that, like he doesn't do that for just anybody.
Dude, no, it's really cool. It's like because Ant's favorite player is KD, so it's like when your rivals become your fans, like or like your favorite player you become your favorite player's favorite player. Like it's just like it's so dope to see, and I mean Ant deserves it. He talks shit. He smack talks a lot, but it's out of respect, and I think obviously a guy like KD is gonna respect that for sure.
For sure. Absolutely. And so, pivoting on to the rest of the team there, because it definitely was an all in team effort. Like, from your shoes, I think there was a lot of guys that really stood out and had, extremely positive impacts on this
Yeah.
series against the Suns. Who impressed you the most besides Anthony Edwards, we'll say, in this most recent series against the Suns?
Well, I think there's a couple guys. I think, well, the first one that comes to mind is it's kind of crazy. He was a throw-in the D'Lo trade with Mike Conley. Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I think he had the second highest plus minus of all time in a playoff series. That series, it was like plus 22 or some shit like that. Like, dude, and I mean, I could go down the line on this whole roster, bro.
The floor is yours, bro. The floor is yours.
So Nikhil's been so steady for us, like as a presence off the bench. Just honestly, he's kind of become one of like the most ideal 3-and-D guys in my opinion in the league. Like anytime he shoots a corner three, I'm expecting that thing to drop. And then his defense is just unbelievably good. Like he's just a great team player, does a great job, and really, really, kind of answered the call in this playoff series. Going off that, Jaden McDaniels, bro. Dude, like I knew he could. We all know as Wolves fans that like that dude's like one of the best defenders in the league. But I think he held Book and Beal when they were guarded by him to like 22% shooting on the series, which is ridiculous. But then he showed up on the offensive side too, like more energy than I've ever seen him play with. He's crashing the boards. Like that was a sight. That was so special to see because we obviously extended him 4 years, so he's getting paid after this year. And this is kind of what we wanted to see out of him last year, but he missed the series because he punched a wall and broke his hand. So right. So
I'm so fucked up, bro. I remember that so clearly. I was like, come on,
yeah,
man. Like
yeah,
it's Denver
dude.
too. Like plenty
Yeah.
of guys for him to, deploy out there. But
Like,
that's
what are
such a
we
good
doing?
point.
Yeah, so it was good to see that. You go to Rudy Gobert. Everyone's like, oh, he gets played out off the floor in the playoffs. Dude, he played unbelievable. Game 4 was a little rough because he was in foul trouble. But dude, he's starting to pick guys up on switches and not just play drop coverage the whole time and like legitimately defend on the wing. Like it's so good to see, and I think he's really shutting down a lot of those narratives about him too. Wasn't really a Nas Reed series. Granted, we didn't even really need it to be with how the other guys played.
For sure.
Mike Conley was shooting the ball like great. Game 1 was crazy. He needed to calm down game 1, which he did.
Yeah.
He was putting up some crazy shit, man. Me and my buddy were like, I don't know if you saw this, but he had that little like thing with the team where he's like, guys, do it for me. No one wants this more than me. So
Yeah.
as he's putting up these crazy shots that he normally doesn't, me and my boy were like, dude, no one wants it more, man. No one wants it more.
I did see that. I actually didn't even put
Yeah,
it together like how crazy he was shooting in game one, but
dude.
that's funny. But again, NAW like gives you guys another lineup option too, where like,
It's
look,
yeah,
Conley's a great, smart defender, but like he's obviously not the same like on ball type of get in your face guy that he was, 10 years ago. So the fact that
right.
they could pivot to that lineup where they have a little bit more size and like definitely some better on ball defense,
Yeah,
like that's a new lineup that I mean, again, I'm sure you saw a lot during the regular season, but I think
for
doing it
yeah.
and being able to show you can do it in the playoffs effectively is a different story, right?
It is, yeah. And it's like just the idea of like, let's say you're Devin Booker. You start out the game, Jaden's in your face, right? Jaden goes to the bench. You might think you got an easy bucket coming out against our bench, but then you got Nikhil in your face. Like, dude, we got some freaking hounds on defense, and they play team defense so well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that Ant's been able to create for his teammates too, like I know the last time we spoke, some of the concerns were like pertaining a bench point guard. They went out, they got Monte Morris, who, still I think he played in a couple of the games this
Yeah, oh
series,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But still, like I don't even know if you need to go to that lineup as much because like if you
Mm-mm.
stagger those minutes between Conley and Ant, like as long as one of those two guys is on the court, like you're gonna come away with a good shot. And then
Yeah,
just being able to not sacrifice anything defensively by going to a traditional bench guard.
yeah. Well, I mean,
That's a,
Conley's over the course of his career been a fantastic defender as well. So like, and he's showed that in the playoffs too. Like he can guard. And he's smart. Like he gets steals. He's just sneaky with it. So that's cool. I think lastly too, the last thing I'll touch on, is Cat. I mean, Cat showed up game four when we needed him most. Nobody could hit a shot. That dude just started raining shots, and he played within himself. Didn't really get into foul trouble, and also he was tasked with having to guard Kevin Durant the whole series. So like, I mean, granted, KD, obviously he's gonna get his. No one can stop that dude. No one's been able to in the course of his career, but. I think Cat being able to adjust his game, defend when we need him to, and then show up big when we needed him most, man. It says a lot about who he is and how who he is as a player.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, obviously, I think you saw the headlines around today because there were a ton of positive headlines for the Timberwolves, but not as many because look, their job's not done yet. We're going to talk about the next series in a second, but you guys definitely left Phoenix in the shitter, right? I mean, Phoenix is
Yeah,
in a brutal situation, and less than 24 hours since they got swept, we've had a ton of headlines come out. Rumors that Kevin Durant wasn't happy with his role on offense. Rumors that Booker has
yeah,
like interest in playing from the Knicks. Stephen A. dropped that
yeah.
today. Bradley Beal is still locked in for like another 3 years with a no trade clause. So
No trade clause is crazy.
it is crazy, dude. So I want to get like before I give my thoughts on this and whatever, I want to just kind of hear from you as somebody that saw this, demise of this team, firsthand. Like, if you were an advisor for Matt Ishbia, owner of the Suns, James Jones, whatever, the Suns front office, like what is your first move? Like, what are you telling the team with all the headlines that kind of came out today?
Dude, well, first move is go get a freaking point guard, brother. What are we doing here? They don't have a freaking point guard on their roster. Like that's
I
got. Go ahead. No, I want to hear what were you saying?
So I was thinking about this a lot because a lot of people have said that, and their offense is way clunkier than it should be for
Yeah.
having three guys with the caliber of talent that their big three does. But I think on like the laundry list of their issues, like I just don't know if point guard is like top of the list. Like,
I think it's like like rebounding too. Like I mean Nurkic. I think I saw Nurkic as the losingest player of all time that for guys that have played 20 playoff games. He's like 3-17 and like over the course of his playoff career.
all
Just
the years
crazy to me.
he made it in Portland, and then they just got
Those
like
bad
shown out
Portland
like
teams.
immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. That's because they
So,
always
but
made it. The West, yeah,
yeah, but I mean I don't know. I think you're right. I mean I think turning Booker into a point guard, it felt like at times, I mean, that he was focusing more on distributing as opposed to just being that killer that we've seen in years past. But then again, it could be because he was scared to shoot because Jaden's in his fucking dome.
yeah.
But,
I
but
I think it's more the latter, to be honest with you. He was
honestly,
just
yeah,
hounded. Like,
probably. Yeah. I think rebounding would be huge. I don't know, dude. Like they're guys like they had a few guys that could shoot it around the other guys, right? Like you got Eric Gordon, who obviously has had a fantastic NBA career. Royce O'Neal, I'm not the biggest Royce O'Neal fan, but he's solid.
same.
Like he's he's kind of like a Torian Prince, if you will. I think I'd lean TP over Royce in terms of like what I'd want on my roster, but um they kind of got dogged on the boards, bro. And like their inside, they have no inside game. Nurk's not hitting shit. You know, he's getting a
Yeah.
few old boards here and there, but I don't know. I think point guard and rebounding is something that they need to really improve on. But what are
Yeah.
your thoughts?
It's tough, dude. I mean, I think for them, like, I'm sure there's some pieces they can do. Like, for me, I was kind of wrong in the Suns because I guess I was right on the Suns, but for the wrong reasons. Because I couldn't stand the Aiden trade when they made it. I was like, I don't think Nurkic is an answer, and I don't
I
think,
agree.
the depth that they got with Grayson Allen and Nasir Little was going to be worth it. Now, Allen was awesome for them in the regular season. Like, he
Yeah, that
actually
was
was
a big. Yeah, him going down really hurt them. I honestly, like, as a Wolves fan, obviously I was pumped, but like I felt for Suns fans because Grayson Allen, dude, he led the league in 3-point shooting like
Yeah.
this year. Like he had a fantastic year,
And
and
when
he's a
you're
solid defender too.
For sure. And when and I know he started the series kind of rough, but when you're like as thin as what you are for, the Suns, like the drop off to whatever that next guy is going to be so much like more obvious than it would be for a team like the Celtics or a team like the Wolves that does have a couple extra guys on the bench. So
For
they
sure.
definitely felt that, but like I just even with that move ended up being a positive. Like the rest of that roster is terrible, and the things that they're asking Kevin Durant to do as far as rim protection, like again, like with all these dudes that are getting hurt, like I'm pleasantly surprised that it wasn't Durant with the
I
load
know.
that he carried this season. Like so many big dudes with calves, with Achilles, like shit is scary. And KD obviously has a long history. Like I just think what they asked him to do was crazy. So for the Suns, it just comes down to like they really have two options because they're so handicapped with their picks, with their
Dude,
financial situation. Like they don't have any picks. They have
They don't have
none.
I don't think they have a first round pick till 2030 nor a second round pick right now.
Yeah, I think I double checked and it looked like they had like a couple seconds, but you know how it is. Like second round picks in the NBA are useless.
That's
Like
6 years, dude.
they
That is
mortgaged everything.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
I
it
think
is.
they're gonna trade. I think they might look to trade KD this year. I've been seeing some shit.
I think
And
that's the option. It's either like you hold these three guys who are under contract and that's a great core, but like it's just difficult to see like everyone else, like everyone's got league pass, bro. Like everybody saw what just happened. So like
yeah,
the idea, like I know Phoenix is a desirable location for NBA stars, like for
yep,
sure. But like if you it's not like this. It's not like you're joining Golden State in 2018
right.
type vibes
Not
to
at
do
all.
that after you just got pantsed by the Timberwolves, bro.
Plus,
Like,
they're strapped financially, dude. Beal's making fucking 50 million plus the next 3 seasons. And dude, I'm a Beal guy. I loved Beal with Washington. Like my favorite college growing up was Florida. Like my friend Kendall, who played for the Gophers when I managed, like he grew up with Brad Beal. Like I support Brad Beal, but wow, what we saw out of him that series was so bad. Like
yeah,
so bad, dude. Granted, he was injured a lot, like coming into the series, whatever. But dude, that like, oh my god, he looked terrible, dude.
yeah. Especially last night, dude. Like, I think he had like single digit points. He had
Nine,
9.6 turnovers, dude. Like, just
6, yeah, fouled out.
yeah. Oh god, that is terrible. I mean, it's hard. I think I would zag overall and just say to like just find like if there's ever a situation in which a front office is like abide by the contract, like tries to like basically big dick the stars, like I feel
Yeah,
like it almost has to be this dude because
yeah,
like if you're trying to rebuild, like you're starting from zero. Like obviously you can get a humongous haul for Booker or KD. Beal you
yeah,
literally can't trade unless he signs off on it, but
yeah,
I mean
dude. Oh, another fun fact for you: Mike Conley has a no trade clause now.
really and
Yeah.
what they signed him for like 3 more years or something like
I
that
think
'cause
it was 2 years, 2 years, 18 mil, or 2 years, yeah, 2 years, 18 mil. And we gave him a no trade clause.
hell yeah, I love that. It's like
I
he's
know,
taking
me
such a
too.
discount, like yeah,
Yeah,
why
fuck
not,
yeah,
bro?
dude. So I think it's like
Yeah.
only him. I think it's only him and Brad Beal that have like true no trade clauses in the league.
Wow, that's crazy. How little? I
Yeah,
mean, it
dude.
makes sense because it's terrible. It doesn't. You do not want your guys to have that. It's
No,
totally
no,
handicapped unless you're Mike
crazy.
Conley and you're
Yeah.
like beloved. But anyways, dude, that's crazy. So you definitely let Phoenix in a tough situation. But
I think
the,
sorry, I think I saw like this is just like a theory that I saw on TikTok and shit. You see all these theories go down, dude. If Phoenix really wants to like get some picks back, dude, what if OKC and KD was like, yo, I'm gonna go back and try to win one, and like they traded like J Dub and like 4 of their 30,000 first round picks to Phoenix
they,
to salvage some of the damage that Phoenix has done. I could low-key see them doing that this offseason.
yeah, man. I mean, if they find a way to make the money's match, of course, like. If there's any team that can overpay for anybody, it's OKC, dude. Like that's
Yeah.
why I was so annoyed with them. I mean, like as a Wolves fan, you were probably psyched. I'm like sitting there watching this team that's competing for the 1 seed, and it's like it's awesome. They're ahead of schedule. They're fun to
Yeah,
watch, but like they don't have a backup big. Like they have holes on the roster and they have this treasure chest of picks. It's like do something. Like you
yeah,
don't got to go
yeah,
all in, but like you can't get like an Al Horford type for your team. Like
dude,
you can't
yeah.
get somebody like that just to fill it out. Like and they got Gordon Hayward who's cooked. So I
So
don't
bad,
know.
yeah, dude, he's done. Yeah,
Yeah.
Gordon Hayward is a shell of what he used to be.
He's cooked. I mean, I gave it like 3 games of him to like do anything during the regular season for the Thunder, and it wasn't the case. But I could see
Yeah.
it, man. I could absolutely see like if KD wants out, like they can like OKC is the only competitive team in the league that can really acquire virtually
Oh,
anybody
yeah.
within reason with the picks that they have, dude. So
Crazy, dude. Like a three of KD, Chet, and Shea would be like the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
dude, that'd be sick. That'd be sick. I got
I
some
think it
Thunder
would be
fans out there
cool.
it'd be cool to watch. I'd be
It would
glad they're
be.
in the West for sure, dude. But
Yeah.
needless to say, job isn't done for the Wolves, dude. And like, obviously, I think the Lakers are actually playing as we're recording this now because there's
Hmm.
no good time to record shit in round one. There's just a million games every night,
Yeah.
but it is what it is. I'm really expecting Denver to take care of business either tonight or the next game, win in 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
obviously, the Wolves have experience with this team. You guys played Denver last year in round one, lost in 5 games, but. Looking back on that series from last year, like what was like your biggest takeaway when you were watching, Nuggets Timberwolves this time last year?
That Ant is him. That dude, like Ant balled the fuck out last year too. I actually flew back to Minnesota for games 3 and 4. PK plugged it with some tickets. Yeah, PK's the boy. Shout
Of
out
course.
PK, man. Shout out PK, man.
Absolutely, bro.
But so he plugged it for game 3 and game 4 for me. So I flew back, and I mean, yeah, we lost, but again, we were missing Naz Reid. He broke his wrist. He didn't play at all that series. We didn't have Jaden. He punched a wall and broke his hand after the play-in or whatever the fuck it was. And then I think Kyle Anderson missed a few games with an eye laceration or some shit too. And just before that was when Kyle Anderson and Rudy Gobert got in like a fist fight. So we were just like all over the place. Cat missed like what 50 games leading up to that, and like played like 10 before the playoffs or some shit like that. So, I think, I mean, we were the only team in the playoffs last year that got a win off Denver, I think.
I think well, Phoenix got a couple, but that was like during those perfect
Oh,
games with Booker
that's
and
right.
KD. And Miami, I guess, got like a pity one. But still, I mean, like you could make the argument that the Lakers played the Nuggets close too. But I mean, all those Timberwolves games were pretty competitive, and I know
Yeah.
they only stole one in that one game. Ant like went nuclear and hit like a 30-something
Yeah,
footer to like win it or send it to
That's
OT or
right.
something.
Yeah, he went crazy. I do know, like, there was this interview after the series. I want to say it was Bruce Brown. He went on the mic and said like easily that we were easily their toughest series, and it was round one without 3 core guys, honestly, that were getting like consistent minutes. I mean, Jaden started for us, right? So,
Yeah.
I think we match up really well with Denver. Obviously, like I'm optimistic. I'm not saying it's going to be anything easy. I think it goes 7. Plus they have home court, so it's a little scary. But I think with the way that we play defense, and just kind of like the mentality that our team has, and like the confidence that we have right now. And dude, Jamal Murray, I don't know if you saw this picture of him in warmups, but dude, his calf is cooked, brother.
He's
It's
wrapped up,
cooked.
and he
It's
was a game
bad.
time call for today as well. I
Yeah.
think he ended up playing, and again,
Yeah.
I mean, people are gonna know that at the time of listening, but still, like that's insane. Like it's just a war of attrition, and right now the Wolves are pretty healthy, so that's
Yeah.
a good point, man. So
Praying we can stay healthy, like praying that we can stay healthy, dude. It never really works out like that for us, but this year kind of stars are aligning. So I'm confident. I don't think it won't be easy, but I think things are lining up pretty well for us.
all right, gun to your head, man. What's the final prediction from the series?
I
We
think
going
I think we win 4-3.
Wolves in 7 going into
I think it's in
Denver.
7, dude. If it's in 6, I'll cry.
I mean, honestly, dude, like if like I'm still gonna take Denver. I still think
Yeah.
Denver's gonna win. I think Denver's gonna win the title. Like I know I picked Boston on my pod because like I have to. Like I can't.
Yeah.
When my team has 65 wins, what am I gonna do, dude? But
yeah,
like
yeah.
at the same time, like Denver's untouchable and they look so good against the Lakers. But again, health is a huge factor, and I do think
Mhm.
like the style that the Wolves play, the physicality, like who knows, man? Like I don't think you're really ever gonna outscore Denver. So if there is a team that's gonna find a way to string together a couple wins, I think it has to be a team that can physically just annoy the shit out of Jokic and
Yeah.
rotate their ass
And
off. It's not
just
gonna be perfect, but
Scramble defense, brother. Scramble defense. I mean, we play them really tight every time. I think we tied 2-2 on the series this year. I mean, there's a few games Jamal Murray. Dude, the first game we played them, I think Jaden had Jamal shooting like 1 for 18 from the floor or some shit like that. Like, I don't know. Like we're just so our defense is next level. I don't.
Yeah.
It's one of the best defenses I've seen in the NBA in recent years for sure.
I'll tell you what, if Jokic is able to solve the Wolves defense like he's doing to the Lakers right now, like he's already gonna like enter like top 10 ever territory.
Yeah, dude, he's the best in the league easily.
Easily. And especially in the era that we're playing, like again, he's got to string together a couple more titles and he's already got one under his belt or whatever, and it looks like he's well on his way. But like for me, just like the way he's just able to solve every team no matter what, like it's always at his pace. You can never rattle that guy.
Weird.
Like
it's so
terrifying.
Weird. And even with like he'll just hit the dumbest shit, but like consistently. Like that little one leg little step back fall away that he hits, and it's just like, bro, he shoots that at like I swear to God a 90% clip. That bro does
especially
not
when
fucking
you need
miss.
It. Especially dude, when you played perfect defense for 23 seconds.
Or you take everything away. Last second, he just kicks it to MPJ 10 feet behind the line. He rises up 30 feet in the air and cans it. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, MPJ could be smothered, but it's like, oh, he's 6'10 with a 35-inch vert, and he uses every inch of it on every jump shot. It's sucks,
crazy.
Bro.
I low-key really fuck with MPJ, dude. His game is so fun.
It's hilarious. There's one button on the controller, brother. You know it's going up. You know
that
if there's a
going
slipper
up every time.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Well, I'm praying for you guys. I hope somebody else knocks off Denver. I wish for your sake that you guys were on the other side of the bracket because I know that
for sure.
You'd probably be licking your chops looking at Dallas and the Clippers right now for sure, but it is what it is, man. Like, hey, maybe it's better to catch him when Murray's a little banged up. That's probably the best chance anyone's going to have against that team.
Dude, let's just get him out of here in the second round and then go take care of business in the fucking Western Conference Finals, brother.
Wolves Celtics. Who says no, dude? We'll bring you back. I'm going to have to bring you back on every week, dude.
Fuck yeah, dude. And that series has been fucking fun these last couple years. Like regular season, dude, I think it was the first, we talked about it on the pod that I hopped on earlier in the year when we played you guys like early in the year and Ant just went nuclear in like the third quarter or whatever. And
Ant and JT were jawing, dude. That was fun,
dude.
Man.
He was D'ing him up and shit. Yeah, dude. I think a Wolves Celtics finals would be so fun, bro.
That'd be awesome, man. Well, Garrett, that's a lot of fun, man. We're gonna be watching the Denver series, no matter what. But before we sign off here, dude, any other final playoff thoughts? Any other observations that you've been seeing from watching other games out of the series besides this one?
Kawhi Leonard still just can't stay healthy, which is crazy. Kyrie, I want Dallas to win, but I would rather us match up with the Clippers if they were to beat OKC and we were to beat Denver. Actually, I shouldn't even say that. LA is still in it. No, I'm playing, dude. They're done.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Lakers are cooked. Lakers are cooked tonight. Respect to Bron for not getting swept 2 years in a row for sure.
What do you think about that Philly Knicks series, dude? Joel, bro.
Dude, it's a rock fight. I mean, Joel takes a lot of crap, and some of it's deserved, and some of it's not. But I think whatever you think of Joel, like, give him a pass for this season, dude. Like, that guy literally, his eye is twitching. He can't move.
It's wild.
Like, I feel bad. His biggest game of the series, I don't think anybody was watching because it was NFL draft night. Dude dropped 50. 50 points. I know he only took like 19 shots because he went to the free throw line like a million times.
Yeah,
he got that. The craziest whistle I've ever seen, dude. Like
it's generational,
peak of his power.
brother.
Yeah, generational whistle for Embiid. Well said.
I think I was gonna say I think Jalen Brunson's dude solidifying him as one of like the top, maybe even top 3-point guard in the league, bro. That dude is a bucket.
Yeah, it was a little scary the first couple games because he couldn't find his footing, and then the last two, he's just closed them out. I mean,
going off.
I definitely thought the Knicks were going to win, and the Celtics, I must say, have a pretty good road, as great of a road as you can hope, at least to get to the finals. And so I would be absolutely shocked if we're not playing the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Dude, Knicks, Celtics, ECF would be so tough. That'd be dope.
Yeah, man. I mean, they're the type of team, like, they drag you into the mud, bro. Like, they have so many defenders. They play really well together. Tibbs rides his guys. You're seeing Josh Hart, DiVincenzo. You're seeing Brunson out there. They're playing 46 minutes a game. Like,
OG Anunoby is literally the perfect Tibbs player. It's crazy.
And he hits, and we have some scars as Celtics fans against OG, because I remember, a couple years in a row when we would play the Raptors in the playoffs. I think it was like the bubble year. Like, OG had some crazy shots. I think he had at least one game winner and at least one like insane.
He did have a game winner, didn't he? He did have a game winner. I forgot about that.
He had some big shots, and again, he was an important part of a Raptors team. Again, a dude that knows what it takes to win a title. Like, it's a big pickup. So the Knicks are a team nobody wants to see. So I'm a little scared. I talked about this in the intro, but like Kristaps got a little hurt today.
What happened? Yeah, what happened there?
Yeah, man. So he basically, I guess he was coming in. He's had calf issues all year long, really, which is
Yeah,
terrifying for
yeah.
anybody,
I
but
mean,
especially
that's what Cat had all last year.
yeah. I mean, it's going around, dude. Like Giannis is going through it right now,
True.
especially for dudes that size. But like, anyway, he kind of reached down like early in the game, like not I guess not early in the game, but like one play he kind of reaches down. He's moving gingerly, and then like 2 plays later, like totally non-contact. Like he got the ball and like looked to like give it up right away, and he just moved funny and like reach for it like immediately. And it was just one of those like non-contact things that looked terrible. Woj did report that it doesn't look like it's an Achilles tear, so
Thank
I don't know
God.
how they already know that, but like. I mean, you're basically looking at what I would expect as a Celtics fan is to be basically missing Kristaps because like if it's a calf injury for somebody that size and for him to
Yeah,
react the way he did, you're looking at 3 weeks, kind of
yeah,
no matter what. Like I
yeah,
think that's the minimum. So I'm kind of expecting the Celtics to have to get through the East at this
yeah,
point, basically without
yeah.
Kristaps, and maybe you
Get
get him back for the ECF, but
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say get through the second round. Hopefully, if
yeah,
you need to rush him back and things are looking grim, maybe rush him back towards the end of it. That's fair.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that because I saw the notification come up on my phone, but I was getting dinner and whatnot when it happened,
Yeah,
so I didn't get to
dude,
see it.
it looked horrible. It looked like I thought he was tucked. Like
I hate that for you guys.
it's tough, but I mean, it is what it is, man. Everybody's kind of going through it. Everybody's got their
Yep,
scars, and like that's kind of the ugly secret about the NBA is like more often than not, like it just comes down to the healthiest team. Like
dude.
obviously, like you can't. It's hard to beat. Like the better team usually wins because of the way it's set up with a 7 game
Yeah,
series. But like you look at years like 2019, like that shit happens. Sometimes
it
you just have to
does.
be the second best, the third best team, but the healthiest when it matters the most, right? Like
Yep.
that's
Dude,
look how much.
Ant rolled each ankle last night. One, he rolled his left ankle, changed to the high tops, and rolled his right ankle. We're
Saw that
like,
change the shoes too.
yeah, and we're like, dude, and then he just didn't come out, and then like two possessions later, just dunks like crazy. I'm like, dude, this dude is Superman, bro.
Yeah.
I keep tweeting it, like, and saying it with my buddies. I'm like, he's the best ever.
Yeah, dude, he's just like he reminds me of like just his athleticism is so relentless. It's like Westbrook, dude. Because like Westbrook, I mean, correct me if I'm
Early,
wrong. Like
yeah,
to my knowledge, like never had an injury and was
yeah,
just so relentless. Like I like I don't even think you saw Russ bleed. Like it was just like he
right.
was that superhuman. And like I'm not the biggest Russ guy. And I'm not saying Ants Russ, but in that way, he definitely reminds me like he feels superhuman out
He's
there
Iron
with the
Man,
stuff
bro.
he does. Exactly, dude.
Yeah,
Exactly. But
100%.
well, this shit was fun, man. Well, thanks everybody. Well, Garrett, quickly plug your Twitters. Let the people know where they can find you. All
Yeah,
your
yeah,
Wolves
yeah.
takes. I know you'll be tweeting a lot for sure.
For sure. Twitter and Instagram both the same. It's just at Garrett Olson underscore GARRETT and then OLSON with an underscore at the end. Yeah, follow me. I'm pretty active when it comes to NBA Twitter. Vikings too. You know, when it's NFL season, I'll be tweeting about the Vikes quite a bit. And then just other random shit. So yeah, feel free to follow the boy if you guys liked what you heard today, or if you just want to see me act like a dumbass sometimes.
Hell yeah, dude. It's only a couple unhinged Minnesota tweaks per week. That comes with the territory, though. It's a
Yes,
good
sir.
follow. But
It does.
awesome, man. Well, thanks for the time today, Garrett. We appreciate it, dude.
You already know, brother. Thanks for having me.
Shout out my guy Garrett, man. That was a blast. I can't believe we didn't even mention the fact that the Timberwolves coach, Chris Finch, suffered a torn patellar tendon in the game last night and had to be carried off the court. I think Booker basically hip checked Mike Conley into Chris Finch toward the end of that game. You could see him grabbing his knee and swearing up a storm immediately. It did not look good. And it was really sad to watch. I mean, that's an older guy suffering a serious injury like that. It was scary. The team was rallying around him. But I'm not going to lie. Like, the shots of Chris Finch being carried out of the arena into the locker room with like 2 minutes left in the game, it was pretty hilarious. I mean, I've never seen a coach get carried out like that in my entire life of watching basketball. So, I mean, maybe in football you see it from time to time, a little bit more physical sport. So it will be interesting to see how the Wolves adapt to that. I think they'll be just fine without him. He's going to be coaching his ass off on like a scooter next game. But yeah, the Wolves were able to persevere with an assistant coach, and that puts a bow on this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I had to have this opportunity to loop in my guy Garrett with the Timberwolves making history last night. So again, I should be back next week to talk about really all the series updates, right? Saying goodbye to all the losers of round one besides the Suns, who we already talked about, and previewing round two of the NBA playoffs. But before I let you guys go, be sure to follow @Words with Wallace on everything. That includes Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts. Also on social media, that includes Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Be sure to follow on all socials @Words with Wallace on everything, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode. So without further ado, I will talk to you guys next week. Peace.